Every day, people tell you exactly who they are, but not through their words. Words are easy to control. They can be rehearsed, polished, and carefully chosen to create the perfect impression. Actions are different. They require consistency, and consistency is something very few people can fake for long. If you want to read people like a book before you trust them, the first lesson is simple but powerful. Stop listening to what people promise and start studying the patterns they repeatedly create. Human nature always reveals itself through behavior long before it reveals itself through confession. Robert Greene teaches that the greatest observers are never hypnotized by charm. They understand that first impressions are often performances. Most people instinctively present the version of themselves they want others to believe. They smile, compliment you, agree with your opinions, and tell you exactly what you want to hear. None of this automatically means they are dishonest. It simply means that every human being manages the image they present to the world. The mistake is believing that image without looking for evidence behind it. The smartest people know that trust should never be built on a good conversation. It should be built on consistent behavior over time. Think about how easily someone can say, "You can trust me." Those 4 words require almost no effort, but proving them requires patience, honesty, responsibility, and consistency across many different situations. That is why actions carry more weight than promises. Anyone can make a commitment when nothing is being tested. Character only becomes visible when keeping that commitment requires sacrifice. This is why reading people begins with observation instead of emotion. Before you believe what someone says, ask yourself a different question. What do they repeatedly do? Patterns reveal character far more accurately than isolated moments ever can. Many people are deceived because they fall in love with potential instead of reality. They hear inspiring words, imagine a bright future, and begin trusting someone before collecting enough evidence to justify that trust. Human nature makes this mistake because emotions often move faster than logic. When we like someone, our minds naturally search for reasons to confirm our positive impression while ignoring warning signs. Robert Greene reminds us that emotion can cloud judgment if it is allowed to replace observation. The wiser approach is to slow down. Let people reveal themselves naturally instead of rushing to decide who they are. One of the clearest signs of a trustworthy person is consistency. Notice whether their actions match their words not once, but repeatedly. Do they respect your time after saying they value it? Do they keep small promises as carefully as they make big ones? Do they remain honest even when lying would be easier? These details may seem insignificant, but together they form a pattern, and patterns are what truly define people. A single good action can be accidental. A repeated pattern becomes character. There is another reason why studying patterns is so important. Most people can maintain a false image for a short period of time. They can appear patient, generous, confident, or loyal when they know they are being observed. But maintaining a false personality requires constant effort. Eventually, real habits begin replacing rehearsed behavior. The impatient person loses patience. The dishonest person begins making excuses. The selfish person eventually places their own interests first. Human nature always seeks comfort, and pretending to be someone else is exhausting. Time becomes the greatest ally of anyone who chooses observation over assumption. This is why truly wise people never feel pressured to trust quickly. They understand that patience protects them from unnecessary disappointment. Instead of rushing to label someone as loyal or trustworthy, they quietly collect information. They notice how a person reacts to success, failure, inconvenience, and disagreement. They compare today's behavior with yesterday's behavior instead of being distracted by today's words. This approach does not make them cynical, it makes them perceptive. They are not expecting the worst from people. They are simply allowing reality to reveal itself before making important decisions. Another mistake people often make is allowing charm to replace evidence. Charm is attractive because it creates emotional comfort. A charismatic person may speak confidently, make you feel important, and quickly create a sense of connection. But charm and character are not the same thing. Some of the most trustworthy people are quiet, while some of the most persuasive people hide selfish intentions behind attractive personalities. This is why Robert Greene encourages observing what people consistently choose when no one is watching. Character is not what someone performs in public. Character is what they repeatedly practice in private. The more you study patterns, the less easily you can be manipulated. You stop making decisions based on excitement alone. You begin noticing contradictions between words and actions. You recognize promises that are never fulfilled. You identify habits that repeat despite repeated apologies. Instead of asking yourself whether someone seems trustworthy, you begin asking whether their behavior has consistently earned your trust. That single shift changes everything. It protects your peace, your time, and your emotional well-being. Learning to read people is not about becoming suspicious of everyone you meet. It is about becoming patient enough to let the truth reveal itself. Everyone leaves clues through their daily behavior. Some reveal loyalty, others reveal dishonesty. Some demonstrate integrity, others expose inconsistency. The difference is not in what they say. The difference is in what they repeatedly do. Once you begin paying attention to patterns instead of promises, you stop trusting appearances and start understanding reality. And once you learn to study people's patterns instead of their words, the next lesson reveals an even deeper truth. If you want to know someone's real character, watch how they treat people who have nothing to offer them. After learning to ignore charming words and focus on consistent patterns, the next step allows you to read people with even greater accuracy. If you truly want to read people like a book before you trust them, stop paying attention only to how they treat you. Instead, carefully observe how they treat people who have nothing to offer them. This is where masks begin to disappear. Most people naturally behave well toward those they want something from. They are polite to influential people, generous to those they admire, and respectful toward individuals who can benefit their lives. But genuine character is revealed when there is nothing to gain. The way a person treats someone who cannot improve their status, wealth, or reputation often tells you more than 100 conversations ever could. Human nature has a remarkable way of exposing itself in ordinary moments. Many people believe they can hide their true personality through carefully chosen words, but habits eventually speak louder than intentions. Watch how someone speaks to a waiter after receiving the wrong order. Notice how they respond to a cleaner, a security guard, or a stranger asking for directions. Observe how they react to elderly people, children, or coworkers who hold no authority over them. These interactions are rarely rehearsed. They happen naturally, and because of that, they often reveal the person's real attitude toward others. One of the biggest mistakes people make before trusting someone is judging them only by the way they are treated personally. This creates a dangerous illusion. If someone wants your friendship, your love, your loyalty, or your support, they will naturally present their best version. They will compliment you, make time for you, and appear deeply interested in everything you say. But this behavior alone tells you very little about who they truly are. Anyone can behave well when there is a reward waiting at the end. The real question is different. How do they behave when there is absolutely nothing to gain? That answer will often protect you from trusting the wrong person. Pay close attention to small acts of disrespect that many people ignore. Does this person constantly interrupt others but expect everyone to listen when they speak? Do they become impatient with people who work in service jobs while remaining extremely polite toward wealthy or influential individuals? Do they only show kindness when someone is watching? These details may seem insignificant, but together they create a pattern. And if you have learned anything from observing human behavior, it is that patterns always reveal more truth than isolated events. Another powerful place to observe character is how someone talks about people who are not present. Listen carefully during casual conversations. If a person constantly criticizes friends behind their backs, spreads private information, or enjoys humiliating others for entertainment, ask yourself an important question. If they speak this way about others today, what will stop them from speaking this way about you tomorrow? Many people ignore this warning because they assume they are somehow different. Unfortunately, behavior is usually consistent. Someone who repeatedly betrays the trust of others often repeats the same habit wherever they go. Notice how people respond when they hold even a small amount of power. Power has a unique ability to reveal hidden qualities. A person who becomes arrogant the moment they gain authority is showing you something important about their character. They may have hidden that arrogance while trying to impress others, but power simply removed the need to pretend. This is why observing people in different situations is so valuable. The more environments you witness, the clearer the picture becomes. Patience is your greatest advantage during this process. Many people rush to trust because they feel excited by first impressions. Excitement creates emotional shortcuts. Instead of gathering evidence, they rely on feelings. But reading people like a book requires slowing down. Allow enough time to observe how someone behaves with family members, colleagues, strangers, and people who disagree with them. One interaction may be misleading, but repeated observations rarely are. The truth has a way of repeating itself. There is also a difference between occasional mistakes and established habits. Every person has difficult days. Someone may become impatient once because of stress or exhaustion. That single moment should not define them. Instead, ask yourself whether the behavior keeps returning. Is kindness their normal habit or only an occasional performance? Is respect part of their character, or does it disappear whenever circumstances change? Learning to separate temporary emotion from permanent character is one of the greatest skills you can develop before placing your trust in anyone. People who genuinely possess integrity do not change their values depending on who stands in front of them. They treat successful people with respect, but they offer the same respect to those who cannot benefit them in any way. Their kindness is not selective. Their honesty is not conditional. Their character remains stable, whether they are speaking to a powerful executive or a complete stranger. This consistency is one of the strongest signs that someone deserves your trust. The more carefully you observe how people treat those from whom they have nothing to gain, the less likely you are to be deceived by charm, status, or appearances. You stop making decisions based on impressive conversations and begin relying on visible evidence. Over time, you develop the ability to recognize character long before trust becomes necessary. That single habit can protect your peace, your relationships, and your future from countless disappointments. And once you learn to judge people by the way they treat others, the next lesson will teach you how their emotional reactions expose hidden motives that words are carefully designed to conceal. By now, you have learned that actions matter more than words, and that the way people treat those who cannot benefit them reveals their true character. But there is another layer of human nature that many people completely overlook. If you truly want to read people like a book before you trust them, learn to study their emotional reactions instead of their carefully prepared explanations. Emotions are far more difficult to control than words. A person may hide their intentions behind a smile, but their emotions often expose what they are trying to keep hidden. The smartest observers know that people's strongest feelings frequently reveal their deepest motives. Most people spend years becoming skilled at saying the right things. They know how to sound confident, loyal, honest, and caring. But emotions do not always follow the same script. When someone feels jealous, threatened, rejected, embarrassed, or insecure, their real personality often appears for a brief moment. These moments are easy to miss if you are only listening to what they say. But if you begin watching how they react under different emotional situations, you will start noticing patterns that reveal who they truly are before you place your trust in them. Pay close attention to how someone reacts when another person succeeds. This is one of the clearest windows into human nature. A secure person can celebrate another person's achievements without feeling personally diminished. They offer genuine congratulations because someone else's success does not threaten their identity. An insecure person often reacts differently. They may pretend to be happy while immediately changing the subject. They may minimize the achievement, criticize it, or search for reasons why it is not impressive. Sometimes they disguise envy as advice or humor. These reactions are rarely planned. They are emotional responses that quietly expose hidden feelings. If someone struggles to celebrate the success of others, be careful before trusting them with your own future victories. Another emotion worth observing is defensiveness. Everyone makes mistakes, but not everyone responds to them in the same way. When a trustworthy person receives respectful criticism, they may feel uncomfortable, but they are usually willing to reflect on their actions. Someone who constantly refuses responsibility often reacts with immediate excuses, blame, or anger. They transform every conversation into an attempt to protect their image rather than discover the truth. If a person cannot accept accountability for small mistakes, imagine how they may respond when faced with much bigger problems. Their emotional reaction is already telling you what their words never will. Watch how people handle disappointment. Plans change, expectations fail, life becomes unfair. These moments remove emotional comfort and reveal emotional discipline. Does the person remain respectful even when things do not go their way? Or do they become rude, impatient, and hostile? Someone who completely changes their personality the moment they are frustrated is showing you something important. Their kindness may only exist while life is convenient. Real character becomes visible when comfort disappears. Jealousy is another emotion that quietly reveals hidden motives. Many people believe jealousy always appears through obvious anger, but it often takes much subtler forms. A jealous person may constantly compare themselves with others. They may secretly compete with friends instead of supporting them. They may become distant after your success or begin pointing out your flaws immediately after something good happens in your life. These emotional shifts are valuable information. Instead of ignoring them because they make you uncomfortable, learn from them. Reading people requires observing what changes inside them when circumstances change around them. There is also great wisdom in observing how someone reacts when they lose control of a situation. Some people remain calm and search for solutions. Others immediately become manipulative, aggressive, or emotionally unpredictable. These reactions are not random. They reveal how a person handles pressure, uncertainty, and frustration. The goal is not to judge someone for experiencing emotion. Everyone experiences fear, sadness, and disappointment. The difference lies in how they manage those emotions. Emotional maturity is one of the strongest signs that someone deserves your trust. Be especially careful of excessive flattery. Genuine appreciation feels natural and specific. Manipulative praise often feels constant, exaggerated, and perfectly timed. Some people use compliments to lower your defenses before asking for something they want. They study your desires, tell you exactly what you hope to hear, and create the illusion of instant connection. If you only listen to the compliments, you may miss the motive behind them. Instead of becoming attached to praise, ask yourself whether the person's actions continue matching their words long after the compliments have faded. One of the greatest mistakes people make is reacting emotionally while trying to understand someone else's emotions. If you become offended too quickly, excited too quickly, or emotionally attached too quickly, your own feelings begin interfering with your observations. Reading people requires patience and emotional control. Instead of immediately judging or trusting, simply observe. Let emotional reactions repeat themselves over time. One isolated moment rarely tells the whole story, but repeated emotional patterns almost always reveal the truth. Remember that the goal is not to become suspicious of everyone you meet. The goal is to become aware enough to recognize genuine character before giving away your trust. People continuously reveal themselves through the emotions they cannot fully hide. Joy, envy, gratitude, anger, insecurity, humility, and compassion all leave visible traces in behavior. The more carefully you observe these emotional patterns, the more accurately you will understand who deserves a place in your life. And once you learn how emotional reactions expose hidden motives, the next lesson will show you why the wisest people never give trust freely. They allow others to earn it one small step at a time. Now that you understand how emotional reactions reveal hidden motives, the next lesson changes the way you build every relationship in your life. If you truly want to read people like a book before you trust them, never give trust all at once. Trust should never